Hi, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. I just read a comment that was by one of our subscribers who often comments, and I was sad to see the most recent comment that he made, I should say. I don't think this is public, so I don't think that he will mind my reading this out. Let me get my glasses on. I'm trying not to have great long gaps in this already. So, I won't say his name other than his first name, but you can see it there anyway, so what difference does it make? Happy birthday, Terence. I am an American and my asawa is Pine. You know, I was wanting to retire there in the Philippines, but after I did retire and we arrived to the decision time, she and I decided not to retire there due to the corruption in the various branches of the government and public officials. We are both supporters of Duterte, but even he cannot reach into all levels of bias and evil corruption to rectify all wrongs. We love the way you two have dedicated your efforts to goodness, but we cannot change the corrupt and money envy situation you are facing. That is why we choose not to retire there. That's signed Ben. Ben, I'm really sad to hear that, because we could do with more expats here who are right-minded and who will try to change things for the better. And so I am sad to hear that. But in a way, maybe the reason for it is that you needed to hear what I'm going to say now. I've lived here for 5 years. Now, I have seen examples of corruption in play. I've seen how if someone has a relative that's in a particular department, and this is a few years ago though when I saw this, somebody getting say a license or something like that, and they can get someone in and give them the bums rush through the various departments and get them through in no time at all, and that costs a little bit of money. Now, I don't think that this is as prevalent as it used to be, and I really don't believe that. And just lately we have been going through lots of experiences in different shall we say government departments, and we've had to sit there sometimes and see some funny things, like it may say on the door that there is no noon break, but when you go in there, they're having lunch. So there are these little anomalies, and you have to put up with them. It's a different culture, so therefore you have to be ready for things to be done differently. Now, I'm a firm believer that if you went in to get your license and you were in any town in America where you knew someone who worked in that department, I guarantee, I just refuse to believe that you would not get special treatment. Isn't that a form of corruption? I'm sure that whoever it was, your cousin or your aunt, would see you standing there, and your name would be called, and you would be picked up out of the line, and you'd go there and you would get the bums rush through. Maybe they wouldn't do anything illegal, okay? Maybe they would simply get you better service, but that in itself is the thin end of the wedge of whatever is known as corruption. Now, what have I found? Well, I found that when Beth and I needed to have attention in a place, we went in and we simply were polite. We were simply polite. we were not arrogant, we were not demanding, we were not complaining. We went in and we asked nicely if we could get help. And in some cases, we at first were refused. Now, once you've been refused, I talked about this many times before, about how if you're refused, what do? And it's something that's important and you should be able to get it, and yet you call up a government department and the person says, no, sorry, we can't do that. What do? Well, you continue to be nice. You say, thank you very much, sir or ma'am, and you hang up the phone, you look at your watch, and in 30 minutes' time, you call back. And if it's the same person, you say, sorry, wrong number, wrong dial. And you call back in another half hour, and until you get a different person, and then you ask all over again. Can I get this? Sorry, no, you can't. Thank you very much. That's all. And you hang up. And you do that until you get the answer that you need. Now, I know that this works because I've used it many times before, and people respond to you being respectful and honest. Now, a good case for this, a good example for this, was when I went into the bank. Now, in the Philippines, very often, I regret to say I'm usually the oldest person there, so I'm the senior that should go to the front of the line, because that's the law in the Philippines. Seniors are, they're privileged people when it comes to being in line. And you can't expect to see us old dodderers standing there for too long, because something will happen to us, won't it? So, I really felt uncomfortable about going into the bank and walking to the front of the line and saying, I'm a senior, and being prepared to show my senior's card. I felt uncomfortable. Now, here's a funny thing about the Philippines. When you go into a bank, there are various desks around. There's a counter that you go to where they've got cashiers, and in the bank that we go in, there's two cashiers and they're serving, and you would go and you get a number when you walk in, and then you'll be called on your number and all of that. But the going to the front of the line is still an embarrassing situation. So now, how did I handle that? Well, I certainly wasn't going to cover up my embarrassment and just march up there and say, well, I'm a senior. So what I did, as I said, there are desks all around, and there's various signs on the desk, new accounts, this, that, and so on. But I noticed one that the woman seemed to have an air of authority about her. And there are always two chairs. There are two chairs by the desk, and they face each other. Now, in the West, if one person was sitting in one of those chairs, you would assume that that was private business. There's no such thing in the Philippines as private business. Okay? Now, what you do is you go and you sit in the other chair. Even that is embarrassing to me, because I'm thinking, well, this is the other person's private business, and I shouldn't be listening to it. It doesn't seem to matter, and it's not part of the culture. So, I learned this quickly. As soon as one of the chairs became vacant for this particular lady, I went and I sat down. I didn't say anything. I waited until I was spoken to. Little bit my mother used to say, don't speak till you're spoken to. Well, finally she said, and after a very, very short wait, she said, yes, sir, how can I help you? And I said, ma'am, I know that as a senior I can go to the front of the line, but I'm embarrassed about doing that. I'm very reserved, and I feel really embarrassed about that. So could I possibly come to you and make this deposit or the withdrawal, whichever it was? And because I'd put myself below her, because I'd been well, for the want of a better word, I'd been humble and openly admitted that my confidence was not such that I was prepared to just march up to the front of the line. And I said, I'm just embarrassed. Can you help me? So she said, I can. She took down what I needed to have done, and she got it done for me by someone else. And then she said, any time that you come in, come and see me, and I will make sure that everything goes smoothly. And she has done that very, very well ever since. So there is a way that you can make something happen, and it doesn't have to be in that, what can we say, arrogant way of doing things. It can be a softer approach. So how does all of this relate to corruption? Well, getting your way is a form of corruption, isn't it? Nothing is ever, as far as I can see, nothing is ever on or off, except a light switch. You turn the light on or you turn it off, and it's either there or not. Yes, but when it comes to human behaviour, it's not so clear, is it? It's not black and white. There's a world of grey. So, how have I found officials in the Philippines? I have not found any indication at all. None. Absolutely none. Where it has been indicated to me that I should pay money to get anything done. So, actually I'm saying that I don't, but there was one particular case where it did seem like it might be implied, because I needed something done very quickly at immigration, and the lady, I was taken to another part of the office and sat down and said, we can't do this, we're strictly forbidden to do it, so what are we going to do? And what did I do? I said, I guess this is going to cost me more, isn't it? But I'd just like to point out to you that we do sort of missionary work, which is building houses for very, very poor people. And the way we do this is by running a YouTube channel where we make videos and we broadcast. What? Well, everything changed then, so I guess that gave a happy ending to the story, and I got what I needed, which was an exit visa. So, other than that, it's never happened, and I've been round to all different kinds of things. When we got the road done, we needed that grader to come, and it just never seemed to come. So what the heck? Well, what are we supposed to do? Now, a lot of people have said, grease the wheels. Well, just offer some money. And I just couldn't see it happening, you know. Now, when we did have the grader driver come, in order to make sure that he was diligent in the work that we asked him to do, we did pay him extra money, which in the West is called a tip. So, are things really so different? I really don't think so. They're not totally different. They are done in a little bit of a different way. I remember when I first arrived in America, I actually landed a place to live in this, it was a little community of townhouses, and I ended up doing a lot of different work. And while I was doing this work, somebody came up and said, could you just, one of those what I always called a just job, could you just, as you've got the drill out, could you just drill a hole here? No such thing as a just job. But anyway, I did this little job, and it took a second. So the guy said, what do I owe you? And I said to him, just give me a drink. He said, a drink? I said, yeah, just give me a drink. So a few minutes later, he came out and brought me a Coke. Now, in the UK, if you say to someone, there's no charge, you can just give me a drink, it usually means you're going to get $5 or $10 or pounds, and you're just going to get a little something, enough to buy you lunch or something. There's a little old man in the traffic. He's some kind of traffic coordinator or traffic warden, I guess I would call him, from the UK, and he orders the traffic around and helps you out of your parking space, and he used to come up and try and get a drink, and I didn't like it then, and then gradually I saw that he didn't have a great job, and he really was hustling to try and feed his family. So then I started to give him a drink now and then, or take him a little bit of food, and he was always very, very grateful, and he calls me his friend. Well, so I don't think that you, Ben, should consider corruption to be a reason not to live in this incredible country, because I think that it is changing, and whereas maybe at one time you might be pressured to give someone a drink, I don't think that that's happening nearly so much now. A few people have been stopped from doing that. There was a mayor of, I think, Cebu recently. Two of his friends were taken into custody by the local police for refilling butane containers. I don't know why that would be a crime, but maybe they were doing it in a way which wasn't code, if you like. So anyway, they were doing that, and the police must have had some kind of a report, and they took them into custody. Well, the mayor didn't like that, and for whatever his reason was, he went to the police station and leaned on the police and exercised his authority, or misuse of authority, and he got them out of jail. And the president didn't like that, and has now insisted that he be charged for doing that, abuse of authority. So I think things are changing, so maybe you should think again. And anyway, be nice to have another new neighbour. This is a foreigner in the Philippines. Corruption ain't what it used to be, is my feeling. Bye for now.